life's greatest challenge. How do we get out of our heads and into our bodies? And I mean, of course, we've been doing this through the Kriya Yoga this week, but also working with the energies, working with, you know, I hope at some point we can fit into this like a demonstration of some of the things you do. Again, he's in his, when I watch you work, you're always in this absolute portal of creation.
Yes.
Essentially. And,
yes.
and it's really beautiful to watch in a world that is just filled with doubt and fear and impossibility. And I suppose to come here and step into the magic of creating change. And I believe that is what the Heaven on Earth community is all about.
Yes.
Yes. So maybe let's talk about that and the community.
You know, many years ago, I had read somewhere that Kundalini, the brightest description of Kundalini is heaven on earth. There can't be a more better explanation than this. So what is heaven and what is hell? It's all the extremities of our own spectrum. Bliss to its pinnacle, it's called Ati Indriya Anandita Avastha. I will explain this. Ati means something very beyond or very intense. Indriya is all our sensory faculty itself is called Indriya, which is running through our entire network. Anandita means a very intense bliss. Avastha means is a state. Now, let us decode this fully. Maximum pleasure is bliss. Maximum bliss is ecstasy. Maximum ecstasy is divinity. Now, all of us are intending to be on this path of divinity, yet we are not able to crack the code. For instance, most of the people in this world are having a physical orgasm, and that is the pinnacle of this body's expression for most people. Now, is it led to just a release of creative juices, or is it led to elevation into the divine union? To me, that whole concept had to be channeled, that we have creative energies within us which is being just randomly wasted for just pleasure. But it is not really led to bliss. Most people are feeling depressed that they don't have the right depth of union within. The spiritual union has never happened. So they're looking for somebody bright and ready for giving them that experience. But the experience is within. It's our own inherent spirit that gives you that level of bliss. It is not coming to you from anybody else. Mm-hmm. So this led me to that more and more deeper exploration of how do we create that kind of pathwork which will enable people to go to the pinnacle of their creative expression. If all of us were doing the same thing, it's like going to a concert. If all of them are just playing one instrument, would you go to it? We go to it because we have an orchestra, and there are different varieties of interventions which are channeled by a certain organic principle of harmony. So if wherever there is harmony, wherever there is creativity, wherever there is joyful coming together, it forms a community. But if the community is aligned to become a commune, where all of them have a similar objective and they're all working on the subjective awareness that they are good at what they do. So it always intrigued me that grace is flowing to all of us in varying levels. Why is it varying levels? Because of our own unopened valve in the crown. So if our valve is closed, because we have considered it as a wall. So intellect is our wall, intelligence is our valve. This intelligence is inherent in a genius within us. All of us can invoke the genius within us. But it takes a lifetime of work for somebody to invoke the genius. Some people come with like prodigies come with their own genius, and it unfolds at very shockingly young age. But then I am on this big directive that it has come to me as a directive that I had to connect the dots of bringing the most incredible beings, 144 live masters from different dimensions, different walks of life. There could be a musician, singer, dancer, carpenter, it could be a plumber, it could be a wall mural artist, it could be an engineer, a doctor, and from all walks of life, to create a live project of how we can access the human design to its purest actioning. So what has happened, I'm not saying which is the first and only way, but then what is possible is we want to make this into a practical symposium, a workshop where each of these masters come and educate us on how is it possible to have these skills to enable the life streams to operate at a much higher elevated state of being. For instance, people have been living with a preordained way of thought processes given to them by their institutions, by their governments, and they have lived a very predictable life. What if we know what real education is about? How to draw energies from the sun, how to draw energies from the moon, how to draw energies from the star dimensions, how to live organically with less food, how do we operate, how do we look for ways to do organic farming, how to actually absorb creative energies passing through our planet. We're missing out on a lot of stuff, and then we think that we are fine just because we have a big bank balance which looks very shaky. So how do we create a non-fear based community where we're not driven by this thick media streams which keep tormenting us with that fear that we are so brittle and fragile. So first important part of it is to have a disease free body, a disease free mind, so that we can operate to our peak creative potential. To me that is important. So heaven on earth is not just a very luxury setup where everybody has got a sea view and ocean view, or and everybody is just feeling pampered with this so-called battery of people walking up to you to pamper you. So the heaven is, we create this heaven, we create this state of being by commitment, we create it by calibrations. It is not going to happen just because you're born into a rich family. It doesn't happen to you just because you have all the resources. I have seen people who have everything with them and yet feel depressed. So this brings us to a very clear understanding that what level of commitment would you do to take the role of responsibility. You cannot live in a very luxurious mansion and look down into a slum and watch all the crap day in and day out. So somewhere deep down inside, we have to have a responsibility, and that responsibility cannot be random. You cannot just say, okay, are you responsible? People nod their heads and go back to their sleep. So we need to put up something known as a responsibility rating, which would enable us to clearly shape out certain roles, certain tasks to be accomplished. The person, wherever that goes, it's not possible to always have a utopian kind of environment where you are running away from commitment. We just can create a bubble where you live in a imaginary city where you can create an atmosphere of protected and gated community where everybody looks fine. When they step out of it, they have to face the brunt of it. So I want people to realize that they can be contributors and leaders in their own community. They can make an influence on where they are, and that to me is more important than just pulling them out of their zones and putting them in a very very conditioned laboratory environment. So also the conditioning that what people in this current generations face is that they're all so locked into their imaginary worlds in their mobiles, they don't step out of it. But the fact is that we don't have situational awareness. We don't have children to actually feel the soil. They don't know how to plant a sapling. They don't know the difference between a real grain versus a synthetic grain, and how do we impose them to a very plastic living and then expect magic out of them. So what is real medicine? Food is also medicine. We have to go back to herbal growing. We have to go back to being a naturalist and able to still balance both the dimensions. We cannot be living always in that atmosphere. We have to learn to be useful where we are, and to me that will grow on. And if we create documentaries out of these workshops, and we will channel it through the mainstreams and see that where people can absorb this knowledge and apply it in their life and give us feedback. So we'll have many pockets of these kind of energies through these 144 influencers, and this would spread the movement for, this is a non-commercial idea that which should lead people to remembrance that we are here on this planet for a reason. It doesn't belong to us. We are here to celebrate the goodness and abundance of this planet. While the only way to do it is by honoring it, by commitment of actions. We have to give it back without even thinking of how it's going to happen. So the funds will come in. There are so many people. I always make this joke that one fat Indian wedding is enough to grow a forest. So it will eventually happen as per the design.